What is the single biggest dick move in all of history? France asking Haiti for a compensation after Haiti overthrew the colonial administration. It took 143 years for Haiti to pay off that debt. Why would Haiti not just tell them to duck off? Because France could have wiped them out. Money or the gun? I don't know anything of the history of that area, so thank you for a legit answer. When they overthrew colonial administration made me think it was already a revolution. When the Mexican government rounded up thousands of Yaqui natives, made them walk over 300 kilometers to the coast, put them on boats, and sold them as slaves for about 25 cents. Most ended up on plantations in Veracruz where they were worked to death. Slavery was already illegal in Mexico at the time. When was this? Early 1900s. Opium wars were pretty dickish. You don't want to buy hard drugs from us and turn your population into useless addicts. Fine, we'll invade you and bombard your cities until you start buying. Probably when they relocated Rasputin's schlong from his body to that jar. Thomas Midgley invented Freon and putting lead into gasoline. He knew that putting lead into gasoline was a dick move and he did it anyway for money. He knew because he got lead poisoning himself and still lied about its effects on people. Environmental historians have said that he has had the single largest impact on the Earth's atmosphere of any single organism in the history of the planet. Not to mention that lead levels directly correspond to lower cognitive abilities in the general population, and you can look up the dates to know who would have been affected. This also has to be a story of poetic justice. He had also inverted a system of levers and pulleys to help him move around in bed after he became bedridden, and his own invention strangled him in his sleep. The world, oh no. Anyway. Well, not really relevant, but when 50 Cent bought the first 4 rows of a Ja Rule concert, and Ja had to perform in front of 4 empty rows. Lol. Or when 50 Cent bet Floyd Mayweather to read a page of a Harry Potter book and exposed Floyd's illiteracy to everyone. Lol. Floyd's response was hilarious though. Bet 50 a large sum if 50 could give him a recent photo of 50 hugging Marquise. What happened there? With his son? Those mother duckers evolving to suck mammal blood, and now we got to worry about mosquitoes, leeches, ticks, etc. If you didn't want parasites eating your blood, why did you keep all your nutrients in it? Silly mammals. Just inject your blood flow with rat poison, that'll show those dumb mosquitoes. Your pet leaving your room after you carried them in. Your pet moving away from you after you sit close to them. My dog doesn't like me. I don't know why. I'm nice to him, I give him food, I call him a good boy, but in the 5 years that he's been in my family, he's come in my room of his own volition like 6 times, one of which was to take a shit on my carpet. When you come home, go straight to him and give him some attention. Act like you've missed him and are glad to see him. Do this every time you come home, and after a while he'll start getting excited when you come home. Take him walks if you don't already. Play with him a couple of times a day, even for just 10 to 15 minutes. It won't be long before you become his favorite person. I'm like this with every dog I've ever met, and I've never met a dog that didn't love me. In fact, dogs love me more than people do. Lol. Obviously I don't walk every dog I meet, but just playing games with them is usually all it takes. Don't overdo it. Dogs can get fed up with us as much as we get fed up with anyone else. Be patient, some dogs take a little longer to come out of their shell. Can confirm I'll do this. My neighbor's dog adores me. Hitler killing Hitler and thus not giving everyone else the satisfaction of doing so. Around the formation of the Persian Empire, Herodotus tells the story how King Astyages, the last king of Media, had a dream that his daughter would give birth to a king who would overthrow him. So he orders his general Harpagus to kill the child at birth. Harpagus doesn't want to kill the baby, spill royal blood, so he gives the child, Cyrus, to a shepherd to raise. 10 years later Cyrus is discovered alive. King Astyages fakes being happy that the kid is alive, suggesting he always regretted issuing that order. To celebrate he plans a feast and tells Harpagus to send his son over to play with Cyrus. During the banquet, King Astyages has the son of Harpagus killed, cooked, and fed to Harpagus. When the act was revealed, it is said that Harpagus did not react other than to gather the pieces of his son and remove them for burial. Harpagus bides his time. Much later, Cyrus is gathering forces against King Astyages. Astyages orders Harpagus, as his primary general, to lead the army against Cyrus. After a 3-day battle, Harpagus took his revenge for the death of his son by turning on the battlefield in favor of Cyrus, resulting in Astyages' defeat and the formation of the Persian Empire. Compulsory edit, my first award, thanks kind stranger. Wow, I feel like you wouldn't want to leave someone as your general whose son you fed to them. What are the chances that the story was written after the king's death to give the general justification for betraying his king? Very good, considering he only betrayed him in battle after 3 days when things were likely not looking so great for the guy and his troops. Before 1965, Indonesian government sent academicians, especially STEM graduates, to study in Eastern Europe. After the supposed communist uprising in 30th of September 1965, the government revoked their citizenship and declared them stateless. They risked persecution and possible torture and murder if they insist on returning. These nuclear physicist, master engineer, and PhD graduates take menial jobs, becoming janitors and wait tables to carry on living with virtually no possibility of return to their country. P.S. I'm adding some reading to anyone who are interested. Nunaratif.com, Vice.com, Medium.com. Edit, Grammar plus reading material. The original white elephant gifting from the King of Siam. This person would give this royal gift to people he found irritating and be entertained by the recipient's failing efforts to upkeep such an animal. Why don't they just give it away, you ask? Back in the day, receiving a gift and giving it away was perceived as an insult. Go figure. And giving away a gift from a neighboring kingdom is, well, that much bigger of an insult. So no dice. Economies apparently have failed in order to upkeep a royal gift like this. Honestly, dick move, King of Siam. Edit, I'm seeing some comments about giving away the elephant, killing it, or letting it die, so I'm going to clarify something. If you are given a gift, out of respect you take care of that gift, because failing to do so would be taken as an insult from the gifting party. The King of Siam knew this and, for his pleasure, gave his opposing neighbors this annoyance of an animal, an ultimatum. Either fulfill the upkeep of this economy-sucking, worthless elephant, or I come invade your kingdom and slaughter you and your people. Being as powerful as he seemed to be, he probably sent delegations to these provinces to ensure the elephant was still around for years to come. LPT, keep that elephant alive. For those who don't know, a white elephant is rare and sacred. They were never used for work or war, and were just comfortably maintained for their lifetimes at huge expense. And they couldn't tolerate the sun either. Requires constant luxury and won't be made to go outside. Strong contender for my spirit animal right here. Ray Kroc stealing McDonald's out from under the brothers and not even paying them royalties. Dude, I watched The Founder on Netflix and it's straight up cruel how he just took everything from the brothers, divorced his wife and took another guy's wife, and then proceeded to be an asshole while expanding the business and getting filthy rich. It was shocking how little he seemed to care about the consequences of his actions so long as he was making money. Read the real story. There are important differences between the movie and reality. They wanted to paint Kroc in a bad light. Not saying he was a saint. Just saying the real value of McDonald's was the scale, and the brothers tried to franchise, failed and couldn't scale the business. There was no handshake agreement as shown in the movie. That was a total fabrication. It irritates me that biopics and true stories change big things like that. Yes, it makes a more interesting movie, but it's a lie that a lot of people are going to believe because they're accepting the movie as what really happened. Edit, off the top of my head, the one that stands out is Argo. The movie was great, and I went to read Wikipedia right after to see what really happened, and it was so far from the truth. Look into Remember the Titans. About 95% of that movie is a total fabrication. The school was literally never segregated in its entire existence to start. None of the schools they played were segregated either. Most of their season were blowout victories and not nail-biters and up against racist refs. They were ranked like number 2 or 3 in the nation for high school football. They were a total powerhouse team. Alexandria is not some hick town in backwoods Virginia, it's a prominent and affluent suburb of Washington, D.C. You can see the Washington Monument from its downtown. The one dude wasn't in a car crash right before the championship, he played in it and it happened a couple weeks after the season ended. They also won the state championship on a shutout victory in a game played in Roanoke. Etc. etc. I bring this up because how many schools actually did suffer from all what the movie portrayed? Why go out of your way to Disney up a movie about a monster team that ransacked all its opponents? I'm sure they could have found an actual underdog somewhere, sometime with a little research. This is really interesting, thanks for sharing. I didn't even know the film was based on a true story.